Hello, it's so good to see you again. I'm Barbara and together with my husband Daniel I restored a historic sailing ship, Flying Coney. This time we are getting Flying Coney ready for the big journey to Germany. And there's plenty to do, from regular maintenance to stocking up on fuel and water and even lowering the light pole on the aft deck. A task that turned out to be way more complicated than we expected. Before we leave, I want to retighten the stuffing box, which is part of the normal maintenance. The last time it was tightened, it was in the shipyard over 2 years ago. So now it's time to tighten it again. And the reason we know that it's time to tighten it again is because it's dripping way more than it should drip. So let's do it. First I loosen up all the lock nuts and then I tighten all the nuts at an equal amount. First step done, now it's time to retighten the stuffing box. So now that everything is adjusted correctly, it's time to retighten the lock nuts and to clean up this mess.
So now it's the time to top up the diesel fuel on Flying Coney. Each one of these jerry cans here brings us roughly 2 hours under engine or 12 nautical miles. So we do have a very good fuel economic on Flying Coney, and the reason we're using jerry cans is it's cheaper than at the fuel dock and we don't need quite a lot, so it's not worth to have a fuel truck coming. And before we're transferring the fuel, I like to put in a fuel stabilizer into the large tank so that we don't have algae growth. And well, I can't be sure if it's working, but we haven't had any algae growth so far. So I guess it's a good product. So I put in 25 milliliters of this stabilizer for 20 liters of fuel. So 2 of these caps for the 2 jerry cans. So 1 in the tank, another 1 to go. Here I need to be a little bit careful so I don't make a mess. Drip free, and shaking it is. At the end I have to tilt it a little bit, but after that almost no fuel is left in the jerry cans. So we put in 4 hours of fun. Next up is filling up water barrels. Since we don't have any electricity on board and no clean water tank, that's the way how we have our water, not running water, but water on our journey. So here we are in the harbor, so the water hose isn't that far away, but we will stop at some remote places where there is no infrastructure, so we do need a few liters of water for cooking, for washing our hands and all that. And we're using up about 10 liters per day, so this is enough for about 5 days. And here are an extra 10 liters for an extra day. Now comes the heaviest part, bringing them in again, but not too difficult. We're off to make a little walk in town. And Urk used to be an island, so there is a very old and famous lighthouse here, so we're going to see that. And also at the entrance of the harbor there are a lot of charter boats, sailing charter boats moored. And who owns a big sailing ship conversion or a former sailing ship and isn't interested in other sailing ships? Today there are many sailing ships moored here on Urk, and the fascinating thing about those ships is that some of them are quite old, 100 years, some of them even 120 years, and they're still operated commercially. In contrast to Flying Coney, these ships were originally built as coastal cargo freighters, so they're not meant to go on the open ocean. They don't have a deep keel, they're relatively flat on the bottom. We call them in German flat bottom ships, or Plattbodenschiffe. And they do have lee boards to prevent sideways drift. Some of them have a quite large sailing rig and they do sail quite fast. I love that this fleet is bringing sailing on traditional ships to a lot of people. They mostly go out with school classes and young people or shanty groups. And now it's getting quite dark, so I think we had a wonderful evening walk here on Urk, and it's time to head back to the boat and enjoy a lovely dinner. On our way to Germany through the Dutch inland waterways, we have to go through many bridges, and some of them do not open, and also it takes longer if they have to open a bridge for us. And since we can lower the masts, we will do that, but it hasn't been done in quite a while. So let's see if it's possible to open up the bolts. Also turns nicely. Slightly corroded here, but no big problem. Mostly where things were welded. So let's see if it opens up. Most of the bolts are stainless. Some of them are painted over. Easy. There's a little bit of corrosion here. Not severely, just a little bit. And since the bolts are painted over, I'm using an adjustable one, making my life way easier. If I would need a lot of force, I would use a fixed one. But for a little bit of force, that one is doing just fine. And the last one is open, fine. So I'm attaching a line somewhere around the mast, just to have one more control line for lowering the mast. I don't think that it's heavy, but better having a line than don't having the line and needing it. Take them. And let's see.
I'm not sure. It's moving here. I'm afraid that one is rotten. So that one will just come loose. I think that's done. And I think it is a good idea to take it down and leave it down.
It's here, connected here.
Yeah. But this connection doesn't work anymore.
Completely not.
Can I have another look at it? But
Yep.
when we try to move it, that part is moving and there's nothing moving down there.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So the problem is that this light mast base is completely corroded. It's not a proper mast for a ship, it's just an old light pole that they repurposed for carrying the radar and all of that stuff. So I do have a look how severely it really is, but for now it does look like there is nothing holding this mast in place. It was just held here on the attachment to the wheelhouse and also on this poles here, so it was safe, but we need to lower it, and here is the hinge. So in order to lower it, it should be in one piece, and I doubt that it is. Let's have a look.
There is the hole. Yeah, there's nothing holding it together anymore.
As you can see, this here is completely corroded, but we absolutely need to lower this mast. So our plan is to weld in some strengthening bars here and on the other side. That should give it enough strength so we can lower it down, and of course it will not go up anymore. Since the mast base was completely corroded away and there was basically nothing left, I welded on 2 strengthening bars to reconnect the mast base with the mast. That's not forever, but it should be strong enough to lower the mast, and then we can get rid of it. So let's do that.
Oh, okay, there it goes.
Oh.
Over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like up or?
Up.
Up.
Up. I cut it right off with the angle grinder. It's relatively fast. Not too bad, not too bad. So the mast is finally down, which took a lot longer than expected, but that's always the case on this boat. And it feels good because that's the next item that was some sort of odd looking and some didn't really belong on this boat, and now it's gone, and that's great.
And with that, we are finally ready to leave the Netherlands and start the long-awaited journey to Germany. It's been 3 years in the making, and getting Flying Coney to this point is a huge milestone. But the restoration is far from over. None of this would be possible without the incredible support of our community. So a huge thanks to all of you. And if you've enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And if you want to support this journey even further, then check out our Patreon for exclusive updates and regular crew meetings. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.